This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Hannah Belinsky, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Wednesday, June 17th. U.S. NDAA recasts defense strategy brings Taiwan and Philippines under First Island Chain Initiative. Beijing expands maritime claims following Japan-Philippines EEZ talks, and Investigation Bureau opens big new facility in New Taipei to boost crime-fighting work. But first, today's top story. In mid-June, the U.S. Senate Committee on Armed Services approved provisions of the National Defense Authorization Act for Fiscal Year 2027, restructuring its regional defense framework and incorporating Taiwan and the Philippines into the First Island Chain Security Cooperation Initiative, according to reports. The move marks a shift in treating the two as separate defense entities and replaces the previous Taiwan Security Cooperation Initiative. Deputy Defense Minister Xu Sijian said on Wednesday that the original Taiwan-aimed initiative aimed to support Taipei by funding authorization, joint training, and stockpiling of military equipment to counter regional threats. He noted that while the name has changed and the scope of assistance expanded, the core mechanisms remain unchanged and continue to include Taiwan. The NDAA also authorizes the Pentagon to establish a new war reserve stockpile program. Xu added that Taiwan's military continues to prioritize unmanned and counter-unmanned systems, calling them essential to modern warfare. He also said training for newly delivered weapon systems is conducted ahead of their arrival to ensure readiness. The U.S. has responded to Chinese government vessels conducting maritime operations in waters east of Taiwan.
China's maritime pressure campaign around Taiwan is drawing renewed scrutiny after Chinese government vessels entered waters east of the island. Taiwan's Coast Guard administration says it deployed patrol vessels in advance and closely monitored Chinese ships operating near Taiwan's eastern waters. The activity followed an announcement by Japan and the Philippines on May 28th that they would begin negotiations on maritime boundaries involving their exclusive economic zones and continental shelves. China objected to the talks, arguing that waters east of Taiwan fall within their territorial claims. On June 1st, the China Coast Guard dispatched a flotilla led by the vessel Daishan to conduct what Beijing describes as maritime law enforcement patrols. Additional Chinese vessels later operated in waters east of Taiwan and near areas claimed by Japan. Taiwan's foreign ministry rejected China's position, stating that the People's Republic of China has no authority over matters involving Taiwan's sovereignty or jurisdiction. Taipei also accused Beijing of using the planned Japan-Philippines negotiations as a pretext to expand its claims in surrounding waters. Responding to reporters, a U.S. State Department spokesperson said Washington supports treaty allies Japan and the Philippines and urged Beijing to resolve disputes peacefully rather than through coercion or force. Analysts say the latest incident reflects a broader pattern of so-called gray zone coercion. Craig Singleton of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy says Beijing increasingly relies on activities that fall below the threshold of armed conflict with the objective of weakening Taiwan's resilience and shaping conditions ahead of the island's next presidential election in 2028. Joey Cho for RTI News.
Taiwan's Investigation Bureau has opened Zhonghe Investigation Park in New Taipei City, boosting forensic, national security, and crime-fighting capabilities.
Taiwan's Justice Ministry Investigation Bureau opened a new facility in New Taipei City's Zhonghe district on Tuesday, June 16th, that cost more than 1.4 billion new Taiwan dollars, around 44 million US dollars. The National Law Enforcement Agency said the site, the largest construction project in its history, will strengthen national security investigations, forensic work, and crime-fighting capacity. Premier Zhuo Rongtai presided over the opening ceremony for the Zhonghe Investigation Park, which is located near Zhonghe MRT station on Fumei Road. Investigation Bureau personnel are the country's most important security force in combating major crime, corruption, drug offences and national security threats, Taiwan's premier said at the ceremony. Investigation Bureau Director General Michael Chen said the project was designed to address long-standing shortages of space in the Bureau's forensic laboratories and northern offices. Chen said the project was approved by the Cabinet in late 2018, began construction in December 2020, and was completed in December 2024. He said it integrates frontline criminal investigation work with back-end forensic technology support. Justice Minister Zheng Mingqian said the project overcame challenges, including the COVID-19 pandemic and material shortages, and would provide the Bureau with a modern, technology-oriented workplace. This is James Thompson with Radio Taiwan International, reporting in New Taipei.
Internationally acclaimed pianist Chen Ruibing will perform Brahms' Piano Concerto No. 1 on Saturday, June 20th at Aula Sinfonia Jakarta, joining their orchestra as part of his Southeast Asia tour. This follows a widely praised appearance in Singapore, drawing significant attention across the region. Raised in Vienna, Chen is noted for his strong foundation in the Austro-German musical tradition. His interpretation emphasizes both structural quality and emotional depth, closely aligning with Brahms' musical language. Critics have described his playing as technically commanding yet philosophically nuanced, prioritizing organic musical flow and tonal refinement over showmanship. Chen's recent performances have gained attention from both regional and international media. Following his performance in Jakarta, he will continue his tour of Asia, with plans for a major U.S. tour next year. When it comes to TSMC, many people think of generous salaries, but employees must face varying levels of work pressure and long working hours.
Many aspire to work at TSMC, often drawn by the high salaries. However, the paycheck itself comes at a steep price. Achieving such compensation involves managing significant work pressure. One netizen shared a typical day at TSMC. They wake up at 7:30 a.m., buy breakfast on the way, and arrive at work by 8:30 a.m. to review documents. After attending a morning meeting at around 9 and working until 11:30, they take a break and prepare for another meeting starting at 1 p.m. After finishing meetings and discussions by 5:30, they focus on investigation and testing until 7:30 p.m. Commuting home takes half an hour, and they arrive home by 10 with little leisure time before bed at 12:30 a.m. A former TSMC engineer noted that working overtime, sometimes until midnight, was common due to full production schedules. A technology consultant emphasized that long hours are prevalent in the tech industry, especially now with AI-related shortages driving demand. Many commenters agreed that working hours vary by department, and while high salaries attract talent, the long hours and responsibilities can test employees' resilience. Phyllis Koski for RTI News.
1 month-long birthday celebration has brought more than 1,000 performance troops to the streets of Jiayi.
Every year in Jiayi's Lutao Township, devotees celebrate the birthday of Yu Ziye Gong with a unique month-long religious festival featuring more than 1,000 glove puppet and Taiwanese opera performances staged along the streets. Move over Coachella, there's a new music festival in town, and the party lasts all month long. At Yu Ziye Gong Temple in Jiayi County's Lutao Township, a veritable sea of colourful puppet theatre stages decorated with auspicious dragons and lions can be seen along the roadside. Accompanied by the sound of gongs and drums, performers begin the traditional ritual of honouring and celebrating the deity's birthday. The celebration, which takes place during the 4th and 5th lunar months, is unique to this location, and this year it includes more than 1,000 glove puppet and Taiwanese opera troupes performing one after another. Even heavy rain has not deterred the festivities. The long-established birthday celebration, set against a backdrop of hundreds of performance stages, has turned the practice of offering performances to thank the gods into one of the region's most distinctive cultural traditions. Eloise and Hannah for RTI News.
Thanks for joining me for the news. I'm Hannah Belinsky. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.